So today we're going to do a little bit of refactoring and a little bit of cleanup work. So what we're going to focus on is clearing up a little bit our weapon manager. Previously, as you remembered, we had all our available weapons or our weapons list basically over here. Now we're going to separate the actual weapon reference base from the weapon manager. So instead of having them and having to set this all up inside the weapon manager, I'm going to add all the references directly on the IK holder. Okay, this is the IK holder. It has the right hand target and all the rest we have seen. And we're also going to add the weapon reference base, and we're also going to add the weapon stats as a different script. Okay, this way is a little bit simpler, and you do not have to anymore. You can make all these prefabs, so you do not have to add them, inside your controller. You can remove them and add them more easily, like than the previous way. Okay, so let's go directly to the weapon manager. Now, if you remembered, we have over here we had all our list. Okay, I removed everything and I've made a new script called the same name, weapon reference base, and of course this isn't really needed anymore. So we have since I want to separate the weapon stats, and since the weapon reference base needs to have the weapon stats in it, I added the required component type of weapon stats. So what this line does, if you do not know, if I go into whatever game object I want to go and add the script weapon reference base, it's going to add also a weapon stats. If I try to delete it, it will say can't remove weapon stats. However, if I add weapon stats, I can place it without any problems. Okay, we do not add anything else over here, just a copy paste. Weapon stats, exactly the same, and on a later video we are going to do a few bit more stuff over here. That's why I have this over here. Now that means you have to go into, I just add them on the IK holder, but of course you can add it everywhere else you want. Okay, they do not even have to be all this stuff. They don't even have to be on your controller actually. Okay, since they only have references. But yeah, it makes more sense to be on the IK handler. Okay, so for every weapon you have to go and set this up exactly as we did before. Models, all animators, IK holders, right hand targets, all that. Okay, muzzles, we will do this automatically. So let's see the changes we have to do on the weapon manager to be able to work with this stuff. So basically the changes are few. On the initialization state, what I do now is make an array and get all components that have a weapon reference base. Okay, that means we get all our weapons. I want to clear my previous list of weapons which we had over here. Okay, there's not even a need for this to be public. Okay, I'm clearing it first, and then I'm adding all my weapons. I do a clear first because we had this as a prefab. Okay, we might have entries in the list that do not correspond into anything, so that will be another reference and that will be an error. Okay, so I'm adding all my weapons that I have underneath my controller. How I know it's a weapon? They have a component called weapon reference base on them. Okay, after that we close all weapons, but another thing I've added inside the close all weapons is I've added an if statement over here, which is if it's not a melee weapon, only then try and add the muzzle particles, the weapon model, the IK holder, okay, and all the rest. Why I did that is because on our takedowns, which we have over here, okay, on our takedowns we also use the weapon reference base so that we have the weapon model, basically in our case the knife, so we can open it up and down. So since the knife in this case is just for a cinematic effect or only for the takedowns, I've added the weapon reference base and of course the weapon stats that comes together with it. I've added it on directly on the takedown. Okay, and I've added only the weapon model and I ticked melee weapon, or you can say dummy weapon, or you can say anything else. So without having to add anything else, I can add weapons like this. Okay, and this will ensure that we do not have to populate all the stuff on dummy weapons. Now, for the unarmed, we still need a weapon, but there's no point in creating just an empty game object that has an unarmed weapon, okay, just to tick the, the unarmed. So yeah, let's do all that automatically, or you can just have a weapon. Yeah, you can have a dummy weapon like the one we saw for the takedowns, just for the unarmed. But let's see the other way, which is create a new game object, add the component weapon reference base, okay, change the name so that you know what it is, parent it under our own transform, and you don't even have to do that, but yeah, just to keep things tidy, and then return the newly added component. Okay, you have your unarmed weapon. We set up the animation type to the one we're using, the unarmed. In our case 10 is the unarmed. We set up the weapon ID and then we say it's a melee weapon. Okay, and the rest is pretty much the same. But if I'm not starting unarmed, then only then I'm adding stuff on I'm adding weapons on my available weapons if I haven't yet added anyone else. So basically, since we have this separated, I can simply go into my weapon manager, and let's say I want to start with another weapon. I only have to do is come here and drag and drop it. Okay, and I will start with this. I will have available these weapons too, and then we are switching to the weapon index. Now, on a switch weapon, what I've also did is I check if we have forgotten to add the weapon stats. Okay, just in case the new weapon says that the weapon stats are null, then I'm assigning this with a get component. Okay, weapon stats. So that's mostly the changes we have to do on a weapon manager, but we also have to do a few more other stuff, where basically some fixes from the previous video, and that fixes is actually when we are changing models. For some reason the animator assigns the right shoulder instead of keeping it on the left shoulder, and why is that? It's anyone's guess. So to combat that, we're going to go into our state manager and we're going to create a change model callback, a function that we're going to use as a callback, and we're calling that on our resources manager. Okay, after we have changed all our models, we come over here and say use this function as a callback when we are changing models. So I can add over here all my code and all my changes I need to do whenever I change a model. So in my case, I'm going to see if there is an akimbo component, and if it is, I'm going to create a new function inside my akimbo script, which basically I'm going to call it reinit, and take the left shoulder and then basically just reassign the left shoulder. Let's see if I have any more bookmarks, which I don't think I do, and I don't. Okay, so basically let's scroll a bit just in case we forgot something, but I think we haven't. Okay, yeah, we've covered everything. Oh, we haven't covered everything. When we are closing the weapon, in my case I have a lot more weapons and that I didn't use, and I haven't made AK holders for them yet. So what I also did inside close all weapons, I get all my shareable objects that I will find open, okay, and I just use a for each loop and close them, okay, deactivate them. If they are assigned into a weapon or a weapon manager somewhere, then they're going to be opened and returned from the resources manager, so we do not have to worry about, you know, closing a shareable object that we haven't and not moving around with the weapons. Okay, so basically that's pretty much it. On the Akimbo, I think, yeah, we have everything. So basically, yeah, that was this is a short video because I wanted to rework a little bit the weapon manager, since yeah, now that I said of it, I've also took out the down weapon, and instead of having the down weapon in the weapon manager, I just added on the last stand directly. Okay, so the only change was make a public weapon reference down weapon and add it over here instead of getting the one from the weapon manager. And I have my key holder that has all my weapon references. Okay, and I just need to go and assign it that way. Now, of course, if you only have if you pretty much have the same models for your pistols and all that, okay, and if you think that they are going to look correct the way they are placed with the AK targets and all that, okay, so let's say I have another pistol over here. Okay, if I make this something like this, you know, make it look like it will be correct, like here over, or like say over like this, something like that. I'm trying to fit it so that it looks correct, firing either the other pistol or this one. Okay, then you can also use all the AK handlers, so you do not even have to have all this. Yeah, okay, they are pistols. Probably you're going to have the same animations for pistols. Now, depending on the model, because you know some guns you hold them differently, or yeah, stuff like that, then you can reuse even the same AK handlers and just change the models. Okay, and this will actually work with everything we have up till now, since we took care and we've revisited all the scripts a lot of the time. So even if you start from another scene, and yeah, I should probably apply disable this guy, otherwise we're going to have two characters. Okay, and if I click play, and yeah, there's another reference that I do not know why. Yeah, something with a select screen model, yeah, doesn't matter. Okay, we are back and playing, and we have our akimbo weapons and all that. Okay, and in case we want to do the takedowns, there are weapons, and this one didn't work actually. So let's see why this one didn't work. Yeah, because we haven't assigned a weapon stats over here. on one of our weapons basically. So anyway, I'm not going to go now and assign the references that are missing. You get the idea. Basically just add a weapon manager, and what we can actually do over here is, if it's really null, okay, the first time it's going to be null, it's going to try and make it, and the next time it's going to go and say your weapon transform or game object dot add component weapon stats, okay, and then yeah, this should have been like this actually. What? Yeah, I think I'm losing it. Yeah, this looks correct. Let's try it. I'll maximize this. Okay, yeah, of course this is a hack. You should make sure that you have your weapon references on your script references on every mod. Okay, but that's just a quick hack. Okay, this works. Let's see if we have our takedowns, our weapons basically. It has the knife, it should do. Yeah, this will probably work now. And it doesn't. And it probably doesn't because this isn't assigned, I think. Let's see. Click down, knife 3. Yeah, for some reason there's more. I actually don't know why. For some reason there's 2 instances of this, and this is the correct one. So who knows? Let's see which one is assigned. Takedown, knife 3, yeah, it's assigned on the wrong one, which says it's over there. Anyway, okay, this is the new way we're going to handle our weapons, and okay, this is more easily scalable since every change we have to do, we do not have to have a large scripts over here, a large list over here. Okay, so you know what to do. Like, subscribe, all that, Patreon, Gumroad, and all that, and I'll see you next time with something more fancier.